guys, it's Christina coming to you all with another video, and I have been gone for a while since I made my last video, and that is due to the fact that I got my wisdom teeth extracted, so that's always fun. I wasn't in any pain, and I had little to none discomfort, thank God. But yeah, I'm back in action, and today I want to do a review on The Plain Truth by Jodi Picoult. I have only read 2 books by Jodi Picoult. I read My Sister's Keeper, and I've seen the movie multiple times, and The 10th Circle, which I think I mentioned it in one of my wrap-up or to be read videos, and I absolutely love The 10th Circle. It was a really amazing book, and one of the things that I really love about Jodi Picoult is that she deals with a lot of moral and legal issues within the United States. So her books aren't really like black and white. It's a lot of gray area, and this book was sort of difficult because it had a lot of gray area. It wasn't black and white like I would have expected it to be, but I will get into that later on. So The Plain Truth is about an 18-year-old Amish girl named Katie, and she has been charged with murder for the death of her premature infant. And in the beginning of the book, we see Katie giving birth to the baby. She cuts the umbilical cord and she starts like holding the baby. Something that was really disturbing was that she was praying for God to take away the baby. Like she was like, God, I don't want this baby, please take it away, I don't know what to do. She ends up falling asleep, and when she wakes up, the baby's gone. So she goes back to the house. And then the story cuts from there to introducing the detective, Lizzie, and we get a little bit of her story. And she ends up getting a call from, I guess, one of the head detectives that she needs to go to the Amish community because they found a dead baby. And one of the male teenagers who works in Katie's father's barn ends up finding the baby, and that's how Lizzie the detective comes to the Amish community. So she's interviewing all these people, and she eventually was like, is there anyone else? And they said, you know, there's Katie. And how old is she? Well, she's 18 years old. And she ends up meeting Katie. When she meets Katie, she notices like trickles of blood on her dress. Katie ends up being rushed to the emergency room where the doctors check her out to make sure that she's okay. And from there, they basically say the obvious, that she just finished having a baby, and you know, that they were glad that she came soon because there would have been all these complications because of having the baby, you know, on the farm and not in a hospital. They get to all of that, and then the doctor, either it was the doctor or Lizzie, who's the detective, comes in and they ask her, you know, are you okay? And so they ask her something about the baby, and she's like, I didn't have a baby. And that's the start of my annoyance with Katie, because throughout the novel, all the way up pretty much until the very end, she keeps denying that she had a baby. When all of the facts point straight to her, she just keeps denying it. That was one of the really big annoyances, and I was like, I'm not liking you that much. I know I'm supposed to feel sympathy, and I know that your way of living is very different from our way of living, and I couldn't deal with her. So then Katie's aunt, who is also the aunt of Ellie, who is the defense attorney, asks her, can you please take on the case of my niece? You know, I don't believe that she killed her infant. She is God-fearing, she is sweet, she is innocent, she is kind, she is loving. I just don't believe she killed her baby. So Ellie is really reluctant to take on this case because as a defense attorney, she has dealt with a lot of trials where she has had to defend murderers, people who sexually assaulted, or husbands who abused their wives. So she was like, I don't know anything about the Amish, I don't know about their community, and I don't know how I'm going to be able to defend this girl, and I don't even know that much about her, and let alone she won't even admit that she had a child, even though all the evidence is pointing to her. She ends up taking on the trial, and a part of her case, the judge basically tells her, I need you to stay with Katie for X amount of months, and during that time, you can't come up with a case and everything like that, but you have to be her guardian, because her aunt couldn't be the guardian because she was excommunicated out of the Amish community, and the only people left were her mother and her father. What their daughter was going through, there wasn't a lot of support, and her father, such an evil man. Like, I don't care what anyone says, he just follows the Bible to a T. He's one of those fundamentalists. He takes the Bible and everything that the Amish community says to a T. So he's like, I don't want anything to do with my daughter. She's done this. God will take care of her. So the only person that's really on her side is Ellie, and Ellie even has a hard time defending her and supporting her throughout this case, because she's like, number one, you're not admitting to having the baby, and number two, you won't tell me anything, and you think that this is all going to go away, and you think that God's going to save you, but you won't even give me the chance to defend you, and that's what my job is. So a couple of things that let me first start with things that I didn't like, because my list of things that I didn't like are pretty much longer than the things that I did like. So some of the things that I didn't like, number one was the constant switching of point of view. So you had Ellie, and then you had this third person, and then you would get Katie's point of view, and each chapter, well, not each chapter, but some of the chapters had chapter 6, and then it would have Ellie's name on it. So that obviously meant that it was in Ellie's point of view. But then the chapters that didn't have Ellie, it was different point of views, and sometimes you would see Katie's point of view, third person, and different characters, and it kind of jumped back and forth. I would have been lost, so I had to make sure that I was paying attention to the characters, so I can be okay, well, this person's doing that, so this is obviously in the point of view of this person. Second thing, which is my biggest annoyance, like I said before, was Katie's lying. In the beginning, she was just really gung-ho about saying, I did not have the baby. She was just adamant, I did not have a baby, that baby is not mine. And then, not to give away from the story, I don't think I am going to give away from the story, but she blatantly said, I had the baby, but I didn't kill it. I don't know what happened. I blacked out. I went to sleep. I don't know what happened, but I didn't kill the baby. And then her story keeps changing. And then what really annoyed me is when Ellie was defending Katie, and Ellie said something to the effect of the Amish. She was basically saying all these good things about the Amish community. And then to back up Katie, she was like, Katie has never lied. She has been honest from the beginning. And I'm like, when was Katie ever honest? I mean, she lied in the beginning, then she told the half-truth, and then she keeps switching up her story throughout the novel, and then she has this sarcastic attitude sometimes, and I'm just like, where is the sweet, angelic Katie in this novel? I don't see her. Then another annoyance was probably the way the Amish community was told through the eyes of the author. I felt like there was a lot of things that were left unsaid, and then the things that were said, they were just exaggerated. And then another thing that I didn't like, this is the last thing that I didn't like, was that there was a part, or multiple parts in the story where ghosts and spirits and stuff were brought up, and I was like, okay, I don't really understand the point of them having the story about Katie's sister who died and Katie's baby father who got his doctorate in the paranormal ghost spirit stuff. I don't understand that, but hopefully towards the end it'll all come together. And to my surprise, it did not come together. I didn't know what was her point in putting that in the novel. I feel like that didn't have to be in there. I don't know what purpose it served. And also the end. Towards the end, I already knew what was going to happen because If you all didn't know, The Plain Truth was a Lifetime movie as well. So I've already seen the movie. I knew what was going to happen. I knew who killed the baby, but it was so quick. Like, when the person admitted to killing the baby, it was just like, yes, I killed the baby, and then that was the end of the book. I'm like, you couldn't have elaborated on why or what happened afterwards. There could have been more said, but it wasn't. So a couple of things that I did like about the novel. I did like learning about the Amish community. The only thing that I knew about the Amish community, that it was a secluded group of people who did not live the way the average American does, and they are highly religious and they are hardworking. And that's the only thing I knew about the Amish. So to read this book and learn a little bit more about the Amish, that was awesome. I do like the challenge of moral issues on the moral issues and the judicial system and stuff like that, and seeing the dynamic between the American way of living and the Amish way of living. I found that really interesting. But other than that, I didn't too much care for the story itself. I feel like I got a lot more out of learning about the Amish community, learning about the judicial system, and learning just a little bit about myself, because that's what Jodi Picoult, I think, is mostly famous for, is making you really think about the issues and where your stance was. And I kind of figured where my stance was towards the beginning of the novel, because I was just like, I didn't feel personally that Katie, should have gone off so easily just because she was Amish and she didn't know the way of American living. In my personal opinion, I don't think it matters whether you're Amish, you're Christian, you're Muslim, you're Hindu. You know, that doesn't mean that you're a good person. There are a lot of bad people in this world, and just because you claim a certain religion, it doesn't hold you to a higher standard. Basically, if a Christian killed somebody, it's not like, oh, well, we can't charge you because you're a Christian. Well, no, you killed someone, and you killed someone, so you have to, you know, pay the price and do your time. So that was my opinion on it. But yeah, if you've read this book before, tell me how you felt about it, if you liked it. I saw a lot of Goodreads reviews that kind of agreed on where my stance was on the topic of this book, but just because I didn't like this book doesn't mean I'm not going to read any more Jodi Picoult novels. I definitely will. I didn't really like this one. So yeah, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye, you guys.